A very good evening to all. I, Mr. Prashant Payam, welcome all the participants for the awareness webinar on 5 steps to financial success, which is organized by Sanatana Samprathisthana in association with the Rotary Club of Mysore West. Prayer is the process of talking to God in order to achieve a purpose. Let us begin this awareness webinar by seeking the blessings of the Lord Almighty. Vakratunda Mahakaya Koti Surya Samaprabha Nirvignam Kurume Deva Sarva Karyeshu Sarvada. Now I request Dr. Ramchandra CG, the Managing Trustee of Sanatana Samprathisthana, to welcome and introduce the speaker of today's webinar. I also request him to welcome the guest as well as the participants. Over to you, sir.
Good evening, one and all. I take this opportunity on behalf of Sanatana Samprathisthana, Mysuru, to welcome the speaker of today's webinar, Mr. V.R. Ayyappan, a chartered financial analyst, financial risk manager, and founder mirafunds.com. And the guests from Rotary Club of Mysore West, and Sri Lokesh CG, President, Dr. Shantrajaras, Dr. Raghavendra Prasad MD, and Srimati Bhagya Gopal, Board of Trustees, Sanatana Samprathisthana, and finally all the participants from various parts of the country. So let me introduce Mr. V.R. Ayyappan, the speaker of today's webinar. He is a chartered financial analyst, financial risk manager, and founder mirafound.com. Mr. V.R. Ayyappan holds chartered financial analyst from CFA Institute USA, financial risk manager certification from GARB USA, PGDM majoring finance from Christ College Institute of Management, Bengaluru, and he has 13 plus years of professional experience and spanning across investment consulting, financial research, and asset management. He strongly believes in the concept of financial freedom and advocates the concept of financial freedom. He is helping more than 400 clients spreads across 15 countries in their path of achieving financial freedom. He founded mirafunds.com, an online mutual fund distribution platform which allows individuals to invest with ease, and he conducts regular financial training programs for individuals and corporates, and also post financial articles in financial websites. So this is a brief introduction about Mr. V.R. Ayyappan and today's topic. Before we go to that, finance is defined as the management of money and includes activities such as investing, borrowing and lending, budgeting, saving and forecasting. And financial success is simply putting forth consistent financial effort so that you are in a better financial place than you would have been without that consistent effort. So nothing else matters because there's nothing else you can really control. So few key tips to getting ahead financially are: get paid what you are worth and spend less than you earn, and stick to a budget, pay off credit card debt and contribute to a retirement plan, have a savings plan too, and invest, maximize your employment benefits, and review your insurance coverages. So finally, the financial success on a holistic level is about more than just accumulating money and being financially stable. Success for most of us fosters a sense of well-being and peace of mind. So setting goals and the foundation of what is important to you and your family will help to accomplish this. So the basic intention to organize today's awareness webinar are 5 steps to financial success is to provide information about how to achieve financial success. The speaker will speak about the various ways to achieve financial success. So with this, I wish all the best for all the participants. So we'll have a fruitful interaction with the speaker at the end of this session. Once again, thank you one and all. So over to you, Prashant.
Thank you, sir. Now I request Mr. Paul, financial analyst, financial risk manager, and founder merafunds.com Mysore, to start his session on 5 steps to financial success. Over to you, sir.
Thanks, Prashant, and thanks, Dr. Ramachandra, for the nice introduction, as well as inviting me for this webinar. So I would thank even Sanatana Samprathisthana as well as Rotary for taking this initiative to spreading financial literacy. So I have a small presentation. Let me share that presentation. And during the presentation, any questions anyone has, please put it on the chat box. Post presentation session, I'll try to answer, we can have a Q&A session where I can take up your questions. Okay, and also you can note down the key points, whichever you feel important during the presentation. So let me share the presentation. Yeah. So presentation is visible, right? So I keep this presentation very simple so that everyone can easily understand it. Okay, and any key points you feel important, please note it down, and any questions you have, put it on the chat box. 5 steps to financial success. So this is a topic which we have today. So this is a famous quote: single biggest difference between financial success and financial failure is how well you manage your money. Okay, we all have to deal with money management. You being in the field of finance, or even you are in different profession, but still everyone is forced to manage money, right? And financial success is important for every one of us, right? So this is a financial success ladder. It may not be in the same order. The priority might change, but these are 5 important steps which we need to take control of. First is financial security. Okay. Second is manage your debt. So many people get into debt problem, that is loans. And third is you need to have a contingency fund, especially in the last 2 years, we are going through the pandemic. Suddenly there will be, many people have faced job loss, and they did not have any contingency fund to support them. So then they would end up into debt trap. Again, they will go and borrow money. So this importance of contingency fund. And the fourth would be focus on your financial goals. And finally would be focus on achieving financial freedom, right? These are 5 individual steps which I'll go in detail in each of these steps. And let's understand this completely. So step 1 is financial security. So in the chat box, can you guys just mention who all have insurance? So who all have life insurance? Just put it on the chat box. Do you have a life insurance? Yes or no? Right. So please don't unmute. Just put it on the chat box. Let's keep it more of an interactive. So does everyone has life insurance? Yes. So Teja mentions as, Raghu mentions as, Ramchandra. Okay. Next question is, do we have right life insurance coverage? Okay, just because you have an insurance policy doesn't mean that you have a right coverage. So there is a difference between that. So let's understand. Now, why financial security is important? So simple logic: we have our income. Okay, we spend some money and we left with whatever we are left with. We call it as a saving, right? That saving will be channelized to investment. So all our goals can be achieved by investing our money rightly. But what if our income stops due to unforeseen reason? Okay. Just few days back, I came across a family. He's like 35 years old. His wife is around 30 years old with one small kid. He died because of an heart attack. Okay. Suddenly the family financial situation is totally changed. Right? He was earning decently enough money, but after his demise, now the family has to go through a very rough phase, right? So this can happen to anyone. 30 years, 40 years, 50 years, any age this can happen. But have you wondered or have you thought, if in case tomorrow, if your active income stops, that is your business income or your salary income stops, okay, is your family financially protected? That is a big question you need to ask, right? So the income might stop for any of these reasons. One is the demise or death of the person. The second can be disability. So someone meeting with an accident, right? So he might lose his earning potential or ability to earn. And third is might be critical illness. It can be a small, just a fever where you take leave for 5-6 days and you might lose income for only 5-6 days. Or it can be some critical illness where you will not be able to continue working. So this can happen to anyone. If that happens, are you protected enough? Okay, that is a big question we need to ask. How can you protect from this risk? You have a lot of insurance products which are available to cover each specific risk. Okay, there is something called life insurance. Okay, there is something called health insurance, and then there is something called property insurance. Okay, you can cover all your risks. So we take car insurance, right? We insure our car or vehicle because it is mandatory from regulatory perspective. Okay, but when it comes to life insurance or health insurance, it is our discretion. If we want, we can take it. So many people ignore that and they don't understand the importance of it. So now the whole perspective would be to understand it in a right manner. So now my next question is, so you all, no need to mention your salary, but you all know what is the annual income you will be making, right? So someone might be making 10 lakh rupees income, someone might be making 5 lakh rupees income, someone might be earning 20 lakhs, okay? My only question is, as a multiple of your salary, how much insurance coverage do you have? Assume, say for example, if your earning is 10 lakh rupees per annum, okay? You might have 3 policies or 4 policies, each policy's coverage might be 5 lakh rupees, 10 lakh rupees or 15 lakh rupees. So add up all the coverage put together. What is the multiple you are getting as a percentage of your annual salary? Can you put it on the chat box? Assume I have 3 policies which are 5 lakh, 5 lakh, 5 lakh. So 15 lakh is my coverage. And my total salary is 10 lakh, okay, per annum. So my coverage is 1.5 times. How many times of your annual salary coverage do you have as a life insurance coverage? You might have a lot of policies, but do you know what is the sum assured for each of the policies? Add up all the sum assured. Just calculate what is the total coverage you have. Okay, that see as a percentage of your salaries or a times of your salary, how many times its coverage is there. So the biggest problem with most of us is we might not have a right coverage, right? So first is life insurance. So life insurance, what happens? You need to have 15 to 20 times of your annual salary as a coverage. Okay. So 15 to 20 times of your annual salary. That is the coverage you need to have. That means if your annual salary is 10 lakh, right? You need to have a coverage of 2 crores. Okay. If your annual salary is 20 lakhs, okay, per annum, if you're earning, say if you're earning 20 lakhs per annum, so your right coverage is close to 4 crores. How many people have this kind of coverage? If you don't have this kind of coverage, whatever insurance policy you have, it's useless. Okay, you might carry a lot of policy. Logic, I will tell you. Assume you have a 10 lakh policy, life insurance policy, you might think you have covered, and your annual salary is 10 lakhs. Okay, if something happens to you, family will get 10 lakhs. How long they can survive? 1 year, 2 years with that 10 lakhs. But the whole purpose of insurance should be, in your absence, the family should not suffer for next 30 years or 40 years, not for 1 year or 2 years, right? So always look for right coverage. You need to buy product with right coverage. Okay. So now where you can get this kind of coverage, you can get by taking a product called term insurance. Okay. So just write it down, a product called term insurance. So generally, if your age is 30 years, you are 30-year-old, for 1 crore coverage, you have to pay 30,000 rupees premium. Okay, if your age is 40 years, then you have to pay close to 40,000 rupees for 1 crore coverage. So if you want to really protect your family, you need to have term insurance. Any other policy you have, it's great. It's just a saving product or an investment product, but it never covers your financial risk. Okay. So first product you need to have is you need to have a term insurance. Okay. If you don't have it, have a term insurance. How many of you have term insurance here? Can I have answers in the chat box? Do you have term insurance where your coverage is at least 1 crore? Yeah. So just introspect. If you might have 10 policies, each policy is 1 lakh coverage. You might be paying 10,000 premium for 10 policies. Your total coverage is only 10 lakh. In your absence, family will get 10 lakhs. If you are earning 10 lakh per annum, it is only 1 year they can survive with that money. Okay. If you have not covered it rightly, then you are taking a very big risk. Okay. You're putting your family into very big risk. So always look for right term insurance. Have a big coverage, 1 crore or 2 crore coverage. They be based on your salaries. Okay. And it is must for people below 50 because you will have young kids who are financially dependent on you. If you are more than 50, most probably your kids would have grown up to some extent. They might start earning also. Financially they may not be dependent. But if you are a younger person, if you are in your 30s, 20s or 40s, then term insurance becomes much more important. Next is we need to have health insurance coverage. So now you see this COVID has taught many people a big lesson. So many people have got into loans because of hospitalization. So they the hospital bill has reached somewhere between 5 lakh, 10 lakh, 15 lakhs. And people are forced to take loans because they did not had an health insurance coverage. Okay. So just we don't know when our health might deteriorate, but you should be prepared for it and you should have right coverage. So today 10 lakh or 25 lakh coverage might cost you somewhere between 20,000 to 40,000. Okay. So need to have a right coverage. Okay. And it's always everyone should have it. Once you have a age below 40, 45. Okay. So 1 second. So just okay. So everyone needs to have a right health insurance coverage. Today, an health insurance might cost you 30, 40,000. Okay. For a 20, 25 lakhs kind of insurance coverage. Right. So easily it's very affordable. It might be 30,000 is 2,000, 2,500 rupees per month. Okay. It's very affordable. You need to have it. Everyone should have it. If in case you don't carry health insurance, then what is the risk? If any health deterioration happens, the hospital bill can, totally rip you off financially, right? So, and another thing which I come across is most of the corporates do provide health insurance. So you would be working with some organizations where you will be covered the health risk. But still you need to have a personal health policy, health insurance policy. Why? Because tomorrow if you are out of the job, or tomorrow you retire, or if your health deteriorates once and post you leave the job, you will not get any health insurance coverage from outsiders. So you need to maintain your health insurance policy. Okay. And third is property insurance. So any asset, expensive assets, you have it, you need to have a right coverage. Okay. You need to have a right property home insurance coverage or a car insurance coverage. This is to safeguard the assets. Okay. So next would be the second important thing is how do you manage your debt, right? So many of us get into this debt problem. So I have come across people who have issues managing their credit cards. So they will be having 3 or 4 credit cards and they will try to play with those cards. And over a period of time, what happens? They will have dues outstanding in all the cards. Okay. So you need to be very careful. If you have an expensive lifestyle where you are spending more than what you are earning, you will end up getting into a debt trap. Okay. So avoid getting into debt and I'll just let you know what are the different kinds of debt is there. What are the debts which are good and what are the debts which are bad? You should totally avoid. Now, how many people have home loan here? So can I have answers on the chat box? How many people have loans, home loans? No. And how many people have personal loans? Great. Okay, so I'm getting mixed answers. So now let's see. You should try to avoid all kind of debt. Okay, first of all, a man in debt is so far a slave. Now there are certain debts which can be classified as good debt, and there are certain debts which can be classified as bad debt. So good debt are those debt where the asset value keep increasing, right? You borrow money to buy an asset where the value of that asset at least will grow. Okay, one side you are paying interest charges to the bank or the from whom you have borrowed the money, but on the other side you have invested in an asset which is growing in value, right? Otherwise, what happens? You can take a debt which will help you to increase your income. Now, say for example, someone wants to take an educational loan. Okay, he does a master's by taking a loan. Post his education, it's possible that his salary will be at a higher level. Okay, so at least it will help you to generate higher income. So that can be considered as good debt. And also a debt which gives you tax benefit, okay, can be considered as a good debt. Okay, so bad debts are those debts where you are buying something and the asset value is decreasing, or it is not helping you to generate any additional income, or you don't get any tax benefit out of it. Now let's see. Now say for example, car loan. Is it a good debt or a bad debt? If you buy a car on loan, will the car price increases or decreases? Can I have answers in the chat? Yeah, bad debt. Bad debt. Okay, so assume if there is a driver, okay, who is buying a car on loan and he wants to use, like, it can be like a taxi. Okay, he might earn income out of that. It might make sense for a taxi driver to buy taxi on loan. Okay, so that is he's into a business, right? He's doing a service for which he's charging money. But if as an individual, as a retail investors, we are buying a car on loan, then we end up paying interest on it, which is substantially high. Today, a car loan might cost you somewhere between 9 to 10%. Okay. How many of you know that what is the interest that will be charged on your credit card? Credit card, what is the interest, annual interest? We go out, we like a product, we just swipe our card. So, but do we really know how much is the interest charged on credit card? 12%. So someone mentioned 12%. So they charge you 2 to 3% per month. Okay, which is 24 to 36% per annum. And your FD returns are close to 5 to 5.5% per annum. Getting? Credit card charge you 2 to 2.5% per month, and an FD will give you close to 5 to 5.5% per annum. Okay, so if you get into a personal loan or a credit card, okay, on buying consumer goods, you are getting into a bad debt. So before taking loan, see whether it is very essential, whether you want to buy this item at any cost by even taking loan, then only get into that. Otherwise, try to postpone, try to accumulate enough money and go and buy. Right? Simple. So always analyze. The only 3 loans which can be good debt is what? Business loan. If you are doing some business and you want to take loan and invest into that business, if the business gives you better return, then it can be a good debt. Educational loan can be a good debt because it will help you to enhance your earning ability. Okay, and then is real estate loan, that is like housing loan and all. At least the value of the house will slowly move up. Okay, apart from these 3 debt, any other loans you have, everything is considered bad debt and you need to take control of it. So how to tackle debt? list all your debt along with the applicable interest rate. So first and foremost, you should know what is the interest rate that is being charged on your loan. So many people don't have an idea. Even I tell credit card is 24 to 36%, many people may not realize or know it. Okay. So just check whatever your loans and what is the outstanding interest you are paying on those loans. Next is segregate all your loans into good and bad. What are the good loans? Only three things. If you have educational loan, if you have home loan, if you have business loan, at least you can continue to hold it. Any other loans you have, just put it in the bad debt basket. Bad debt, try to prepay. Start with the debt with the highest interest rate, because even if you take, your consumer goods loan, they would be minimum 12 to 15% per annum. Okay, and credit card and all, it will go 24-36. So start repaying all your bad debts. Then good debts, at least continue whatever normal EMI you are paying, you continue with that, and start building a reserve corpus so that in future you can easily repay it. And the best logic would be start with an SIP at which is equivalent to 10% of your EMI amount. That means simple logic is, if you are paying home EMI of 45,000, instead of going and repaying home EMI, start an SIP of 4,500 from a long-term perspective. Whatever interest you will be losing on the home loan, that can be offset by the return you generate from your investment. Okay. I'll just show you an example. This is only for the good loans. If you have bad loans, you should repay it, because bad loans are much more expensive. Okay. So assume there is a loan, someone has taken 50 lakh rupees and tenure is 30 years. At 9%, he will pay 40,000 in EMI every month, and total interest he will pay over next 30 years on the loan 50 lakhs is 82. That means total repayment is 50 lakhs plus 82, which is 1.32 crores is the what amount he will repay. So 82 lakhs is only the interest component. Okay. Now, how best you can tackle this loan? Just start with an EMI SIP 10%, which is like, of the EMI amount 40,000. Instead of prepaying, you start with 4,000 rupees SIP. Assuming a return of 12%, the fund value would be close to 1.4 crores. Okay, of which your investment is there, remaining is 90 lakh is the return which you get it, more than your cost. So your excess return is 8 lakh. So whatever interest you pay here, you will get back that in your return. Okay, this is a simple way to tackle, and also you will be building liquidity buffer here. Assume you have all the money. Many people, what they do when they have home loan, even if they have additional money, they go and prepay, go and prepay. Okay. So then what happens? Suddenly, if you have an emergency where you require a 5 lakh or 10 lakh money, you will not have any liquidity in your hand. Again, you have to go for another credit card loan or a personal loan. At least when you build this liquidity fund, you will not be forced to go for another loan when you require cash in the future. Okay. So this helps you to build liquidity and also helps to tackle the loan in a more efficient manner. Simple, easy to understand. So is car loan good loan or bad loan? Bad. Okay. And home loan? Great. Okay. So just to be clear on what kind of loans you are getting into. Avoid all kind of bad loans. Okay. Next is contingency fund. The third thing is everyone should have a contingency fund. So now last 2 years, during this pandemic, lot of people have lost their jobs. Lot of people have have taken a pay cut, right? In that cases, if they don't have enough contingency fund, they would have forced to take short-term loans, or they would have forced to borrow money from their relatives. So this has happened. Okay. So always how you can avoid this. So you need to always have a contingency fund. Any emergency might come up anytime, right? So you need to have close to 3 to 6 months of your expenses as your emergency fund. Assume here your monthly expenses 30,000, 70,000, right? So 6 months of your expenses is close to 4.2 lakhs. Now this 4.2 lakhs should be kept it in liquid form. Liquid form can be your savings account or bank FD or bond fund in a mutual fund. Wherever it is, anytime when you want money, you should be able to access. always make sure that you build your emergency fund or a contingency fund which can take care of next 3 to 6 months, even if you don't have any income. Okay, so that is the amount you need to always keep it in your pocket, right? Next is focus on financial goals. The fourth point important is focus on financial goals. So what were the first 3 steps? Can anyone put it on the message chat box? So first thing is what? Have right insurance, be it life insurance or health insurance. And the next is, second is always be aware of what kind of loan you are getting into. And the third is always maintain a contingency fund or an emergency fund. Clear? So easy to understand. Can I have a message on the chat box? Is it easy? Simple steps? Yeah? Great. So now let's look into the step 4, which is focus on financial goals. Okay, what is focus on financial goals? Whenever you are making an investment, you should always consider your financial goal. And post considering that financial goal, you need to make your investment. Okay, first is child education or children's marriage, or you need to buy a home or an holiday, whatever it is. So first map what is your goals. What is the purpose for which you need to make an investment, right? So always focus on a specific goal and then keep accumulating towards that goal. Okay, many people, what they do, they just come and they'll, I have X money and I want to invest, I want to get the best return. If you start chasing best return, somewhere you will lose your money. Okay, don't come that there is no way where you can make quick money. There's no investment in this world where you can make quick money. Maybe many people tell you put the money today and in 2 years it will become double, 3 years it will not. So it will never happen. Okay, always come with the right expectation. Okay, there is no magic. So you need to invest, you need to create wealth over longer period. There's no shortcut for wealth creation. Okay, so you need to come with a goal in mind first place. What is the purpose? Then only you can decide how I can go about achieving this goal, right? So focus on your financial goals and financial freedom. Many people have, this as a retirement. Okay, so I call it as financial freedom. This is the last thing we will see in the next step. Okay, so now currently you see what are your major goals. Just put it on. What are your goals and how much you require money for that goals. And whenever you are mapping your goals, the most important thing you have to consider is inflation cost. So today, like an engineering course, okay, over for 4 years might cost 10 lakh rupees. So per year, it might cost 2 lakh rupees, including hostel fees and everything, education, tuition fees and all, right? But if your child is now 2 years or 3 years, by the time he comes to engineering, another 18 years or 20 course. So it might cost you 20 lakhs or 30 lakhs because the inflation will keep pushing the price. Okay, just think 20 years back, what was the cost of an engineering education? Okay, or 20 years back, what was the cost of an medical education? Okay, what is the cost today? So imagine what would be the cost after 20 years, because inflation will keep pushing the prices up. So whenever you are planning for your financial goals, always make sure that you take into consideration inflation. Otherwise, you will fail miserably. Okay. So now let's see. Today's cost is 50,000. If you are spending money 50,000 today for your monthly expenses, 20 years back, if you had 15,000, you could have had the same lifestyle. How many people do you agree with this statement? 20 years back, if you had 15,000, whatever lifestyle you had, same lifestyle you can have it today, but you require 50,000 rupees. Does it make sense? Just think. 3 times all the prices have gone up. Okay. You might think, just, on the roadside, if you had having coffee, you might have paid, 5 rupees 20 years back. Today, you might be paying 20 rupees, 15 rupees. Right? Petrol might have costed around 25-30 rupees per liter. Today, it is costing 100 rupees. Can you just think of an item which you have used over last 20 years and how the prices have gone up. Just take a milk price or whatever it is. Okay, almost all the prices, commodity prices have gone up by 3 times. Okay, right? So in next 20 years, what would be the cost? If today you are in your 40s, okay, or if your child is in just newborn baby 1 year or 2 years, in next 20 years, what will happen? Whatever is costing 50,000 rupees will cost you 1 lakh rupees in next 20 years. Okay, so you need to always plan by taking into account the cost of inflation. If you don't consider inflation, you will fall short when the goal comes. Okay, simple. Yes or no? Now let's see, like, just I have given an example. There is a newborn baby and there is a child education which has to happen over next 18 years. Okay. Now let's take, we need to accumulate somewhere close to 10 lakh rupees for the child education in next 18 years. Now you have a longer period. Today the child is only 1 year old. So you have 16, 17 years for you to plan. Okay. After few years, the time horizon will reduce and there will be one day where he will reach 18 years. Right. Now assume you want to accumulate 10 lakh rupees for this per goal. Okay. When he becomes 18. If you start early today, you just have to invest 2,000 rupees every month at 12%. Okay. For 15 years. It will accumulate close to 10 lakh rupees. Okay. Assume you don't plan today, you don't care about the child education, and you decide to plan when he becomes 13 years. Okay, when he hits 13 years, you decide, okay, let me plan for his education. You start investing. Okay, then you have to invest 12,500 rupees every month for next 5 years to accumulate 10 lakh rupees. Assume you don't plan here also, and the time horizon comes. So what is the source? You have to sell what you have. Might be you might be selling an FD, or you are selling some shares, or you are selling a land too for his education. Otherwise, you have to go and take a loan. If you had planned early, longer period, it would have been much more easier. Okay, but if you don't plan it, you have to pay a price at the end of the day. Okay, because all your goals will be short term in one day. You are 30 years old today, you might see your retirement is a long term goal which might come after 25-30 years. But that period will come. After 25 years, you are going to retire. Getting? So all your kids today might be 1 year. After 15 years, you want money. It's a long term. You just neglect it. But one day that period will come where you have to fund the education. Okay. So you need to plan well in advance. Otherwise, there will be a cost or a pay. You have to pay for it. Okay. So the whole concept would be how you can achieve your goals in a more efficient manner. Okay, these are different asset classes where you can put the money. Shares, okay, it is equities, which gives you close to 12 to 15% kind of return over long run. In the short run, there will be volatility will be there. Ups and downs will keep happening. Bonds or bank FDs will give you close to 5 to 6% kind of return. It is more stable, but it doesn't beat inflation. Then you can also look for investing in gold or real estate. In the long run, these two will give you inflation hedge return. Okay, that means inflation in the India is close to 5 to 6% as of today. Okay, last 10 years it's been close to 7%. So the gold price or real estate price generally will increase with inflation. That is around 5 to 6% per annum. Okay. So now whenever you are considering gold or your properties, it is illiquid. That means whenever you want money, you will not get it. So you should keep that in mind. Whereas bonds or FDs or equities are highly liquid, so that when you want money, you can be able to encash it. Right? Now, if you want to achieve your goal efficiently, this is the formula which you need to understand. What is the amount you are putting is the P. Okay, you might be saving every month 1,000 rupees, every month 5,000 rupees, or 1 lakh rupees every month, right? And R is the return where you are investing your money, okay, which can be 8%, 10%, 15%. Okay, higher the return, the more the goal can be achieved easily. Okay, simple logic. So you should put money where you are going to generate higher return. Okay, by taking into consideration the risk. It's not like blindly you put, someone tells 20% you will get, you put the money there. Okay, by considering your risk appetite, look for a place where you can generate higher return, and then how long you are going to invest. Okay. So the longer the period, the wealth creation will happen significantly. So you should think from any investment you think from 5 years, 10 years, 15-year perspective. Never think from, I invest today in 6 months, what it will be. That's not the right way to go about investing. Okay. So this is a famous quote, compound interest is the eighth wonder of the world. So he who understands it earns it. Now let's see for the same thing to achieve the goal of the child education. So you require 10 lakh rupees at the age of 18 years. Okay. Now these are the scenarios which I have given: 5 years, 10 years, 15 years. That means you start at the age of you start at the age of 13 and invest for 5 years. SIP. SIP is nothing but monthly you are putting some money towards that goal, right? Systematic investment plan. If you are investing in an RD, like an FD product, which gives you 6% for 5 years horizon, you have to invest every month 14,000. In the same 5 years, if you decide to invest in an equity product which can give you 12 or 15% return, then you have to invest 11,000. Okay. What is the difference? Here 14,000, here 11,000. So there is a 3,000 rupees difference. If you make your money work for you, if the money works for you, that means it is generating 15%. You have to contribute less. If you keep your money idle, if it is not generating more money for you, then you have to work for it. Okay. This 3,000, you have to work hard to add it. Simple logic. Either you work hard for the money or you make your money work hard for you. If you have many people, what they do, they work hard for the money and they want to make their money sleep. Okay. So if you make your money sleep, then you need to keep working. Okay. So you have to contribute that difference. So you need to know the difference between this. But same thing, if you plan early, by say 10 years early, when the child is 3 years, you start planning for that 10 lakh goal. Instead of 14,000, how much you have to contribute? Only 3,000, even in a product like RD. Okay. If you come to equity kind of product, instead of 11,000, you have to contribute 1,500 rupees. Okay. So you need to understand that time is one of the most important factor in creating wealth, in achieving your goals. If you want to retire at 60, don't come to 58 and think about retirement. It is too late. Okay. If you want to give child education at the age of 18, don't think at the age of 16 or 17, how I'm going to manage this money. You should give time for your goals. Then it becomes much more easy. You will have compounding benefit. You can plan it very well. Okay. So start early is the key for your goal achievement. Simple, easy to understand. This is just an example which I have shown for education for 10 lakh rupees. So it can be different. If you want to buy a house for 50 lakh rupees. So you just start planning today and build 5 years or 6 years that corpus and try to go and reduce your loan as much as possible. Otherwise, you will take loan today and you will pay for 30 years. Okay. So if you want to buy a car, you are going to buy for 8 lakhs or 10 lakhs. Accumulate and go and buy car. Otherwise, you will pay in terms of loan next 5 years, double the amount almost. Okay. So always have a plan. Don't be very impulsive in your decision making. Think, plan it, accumulate it, and then go and buy it. Okay. Next is financial freedom. What is financial freedom? Simple concept. I'll try to drive it in a very simple manner. Okay. So the whole concept of financial freedom is investment income should be greater than your expenses. Assume your annual expenses is like, for example, your annual expenses is like 10 lakh rupees. By sitting at home, you should get 10 lakh rupees through investments, which can be, it can be your rental income, or which can be the income from your deposits, or, the equity income. It can be in the form of dividends. Okay. Whatever it is. So that income should be greater than your annual expenses. If it is there, you are good. Now, how much fund is required? This is a broad calculation. Okay. So you need to consult, your advisor or, financial professional for you to know your financial freedom fund. But broadly, assume you are spending your annual expenses today is 5 lakh rupees. Okay. How much money you should have if you are 40 years old? Okay. Then 85 minus 45. Let's keep it 45. Okay. 85 minus 45 is 40 years. Okay. So if you are 45 years old, Okay, another 40 years you need to sustain. How much money you should have? 40 into 5 lakh rupees, which is 2 crores. If you have 2 crore rupees and if you are 45 years old, okay, you can sustain with that and retire for life. Okay, so that is the amount you need to build to retire or become financially freedom. Okay, just know this: 85 minus your current age and what is your current annual expenses, right? You can get a ballpark figure how much you need to assume. You are like, you're 60 years old today and monthly you are spending like, annually you are spending 10 lakh rupees. So you should have 2.5 crores. Okay, without any new income, you can comfortably retire. Okay, but then where you are going to park this 2.5 crores is the next question. Okay, so assuming you want 10 lakh rupees every year, that is your expenses, you are 60 years old, so you require 2.5 crores. Now I have a property which is 2.5 crores worth. Am I financially free? No. Okay, so you need to understand this. Your freedom fund should be in the form of liquid. Liquid in the sense anytime you will be able to access it, which can be bond or equity. Anytime you want to withdraw, you can withdraw. And you can withdraw 2% or 3% every year, right? If you have a property worth 2.5 crores, great, but it will not help you to retire. Okay, the income might be very less. You may not be getting 10 lakh annual expenses, which can be covered. And next is wherever you are put that money, right? 2.5 crores should generate real return 3 to 4%. Real return means what? Above inflation. Now assume the inflation in India is 6%, 6 to 6.5%. So you need to generate on your portfolio 9 to 10%. Then this figure will work out. If your portfolio is generating 6%, this calculation what we did will not work. You have to add more than that. Okay. So this is a rough figure. So if your portfolio is generating 9 to 10%, okay, then this multiplier freedom fund, whatever we calculated in the previous slide, will be applicable. But if you are not generating real return, assume you have put all your money in FD, your inflation and FD return is same almost. So your real return is zero. You are not making any additional return above inflation. In that case, this formula doesn't work. Then because you have to add another 1.2 times or 1.5 times to hedge that inflation. Getting? So this is a rough figure. So keep this in mind. This is the amount you should have at any day for you to come call yourself financially free. Okay. So you don't have to depend on any income once you achieve this. But it should be in liquid form. It should not be in, you have land worth 2.5 crores. It doesn't make sense unless you are ready to sell and encash it and bring it to liquid form. Right. So thanks. So this is my contact details. If anyone wants to get in touch, you feel free to get in touch. Now we are open for questions. Any questions? Either you can unmute and ask the questions, or you can also put it on the chat box. Right? So it is simple, easy to understand. So now we are open for questions. So
you can unmute yourself. That provision has been provided, or else you can post it in the chat box also. He will address to it. Yes, the floor is open.
any questions? See, whatever questions you have, feel free to ask. There's nothing like, simple or, easy questions. So whatever doubts you have, just you can clarify.
Hello.
Hello.
Sir, good evening, sir.
Good evening. Thanks for all the details. I have a question regarding the home loan. Not sure whether there is a right forum to ask, but yeah. What is the frequency? How much is the duration of the loan, the EMI that you think that is a good term to pay it off? Means, I mean, I have a loan, say around 50 lakhs, and it's just taken for 20 years. So what is a good time that that I should be paying it off by? Means, is there any ballpark figure or something like
Yeah.
that?
See, at the end of the day, I suggest not to take any loans, even if it's a home loan in the first place. But if you have already taken the home loan, okay, then what happens? You get tax benefit, obviously. Okay, today most of the
Yes.
home loan might give you around 7.5-8% cost, right? So most
Yeah.
of the bank charges 7% or 7.5 or 8%, and
Yeah.
assume you are in 30% tax slab. Okay, then what
Mhm.
happens after tax? Your actual cost is only 5 to 5.5%. Because on 7% home loan, if you are saving 30%, 2.1% you will be saving. So
Correct.
your actual after tax interest would be close to 5 to 5.5%. Now the logic is, if you have more money to prepay, right? You have an option either to go and prepay, where you will save 5.1%. Otherwise, you can invest in somewhere else, which can generate you more than 5% return.
Okay.
So it is advisable in India today. You can have a lot of options where you can generate more than 5%. So instead of going and prepaying early that loan, you continue with that loan, but keep building that whatever prepayment amount you were planning to prepay, you can put it in some basket, okay, investments, which can
Okay.
generate more than 5% return for you. Okay. So
Okay.
psychologically, one side you pay interest, because many people only look at one basket and they think, they panic thinking I am paying so much interest. But there is another place where you are earning interest, which is more than the interest you are paying.
Okay.
Okay. And this will give you additional benefit is what if, many people make this blunder, because say you build a house and you take a loan. In the first 2-3 years, your liquidity will be very tight, because all your money would have gone into house. Okay. So after 2 years or 3 years, slowly your salary might increase or income flow might increase, and you decide to prepay. You will get some cushion to prepay. When that happens, you end up prepaying, you will not have any liquidity in hand. Tomorrow, assume there is an emergency where you want 3 lakhs or 5 lakhs. Then you will be forced to go for another personal loan. But had you built this buffer and made an investment, that money you could have taken it out. So one is it will give you liquidity. Don't go and repay. Instead of that, invest. If you can generate more than 5% return, means whatever is the cost of the interest. If you don't have the option where you can generate that kind of return, go and prepay. The logic should be, can you have an avenue where you can generate more than your cost of interest on the loan?
Okay. Okay.
If you
So,
have
but
that
in that case, you suggest to continue with the EMI till the loan period ends, or
yes.
okay.
And parallelly, you build on the basket. It is like, you have loan of 30 lakhs. You have 5 lakhs in your hand. Either you go and pay the loan and reduce it to 25. Otherwise, you make an investment of 5 lakhs. Net, you still have 25 lakh outstanding loan. Getting any day, you can knock off this 5 lakh and pay your loan. Don't be in a hurry to go and repay.
Okay. Okay.
Because it's a good loan which is giving you tax benefit and after interest is low. Now this concept will not work if you have a home, if you have a personal loan, which they might be charging you 12%, and you don't get any tax benefit. Okay. Now if you want to go and invest somewhere, you should generate more than 12%. If you cannot generate that, better to go and repay.
Yeah. Good.
Okay. So home loan, that's an advantage, because first of all, it is a lower interest loan, plus you get tax benefit on it. So that gives an opportunity where you can push your money somewhere else, which can generate higher return.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah. Any more questions? So, no more questions. So I have my YouTube channel. If anyone is interested, I'll share that link. Okay. Anyone is interested can subscribe to that.
Hello, sir. Good evening, sir.
Yeah.
Sir, if you buy the product in no cost EMI with credit card, whether it is in good debit or bad debit?
See, a credit card is a great instrument. Okay. Because what happens, who will give you free of cost money? Okay. Today, if you want money from your friend also, 10,000 rupees, no one will give you. Right? Credit card is giving you that free for 20 days or 30 days, whatever is the cycle. So it's a great instrument provided you know how to use it.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Like no cost
but if
EMI also, they are going to charge only that is the GST for that interest only, sir, for that interest amount.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But you
without
know,
interest.
yeah, but when see nothing comes free, you should
Yes,
just read the riders, because if they are converting to zero cost EMI, might be what happens in future, whatever extension you are taking, they might charge you interest on it. Okay.
yes, sir.
There
They are
might be,
going to charge only that GST on that interest amount, sir. That interest amount will going to give the discount.
yeah. See, what I believe is there is nothing called a free lunch. Okay. If someone is giving you free, it is a part of the product cost. Okay. So now many places you go, they tell, 0% EMI when you consumer shops also buy a fridge at zero cost.
They're going to charge the processing fees, sir. That is the
Yeah, there will be somewhere hidden charge. It is not called as interest. As simple as that. No one is there to do a free service for you.
Thank you, sir.
Right? So you should understand it. If you still think that there is no hidden cost and you are getting at a good deal, then you can look into it. Otherwise, be careful. That's great. Great. So this is my YouTube channel. Whoever wants to subscribe, please do subscribe. And anyone who wants to reach me out also, I already shared my number. So feel free to reach me out. Great.
Sir, there are one more question.
Yeah, tell
There are so many products in the market which says interest-free EMI. So can we trust them, or will they also fall in the bucket, that bucket, whatever you are talking
There is
about?
nothing called interest-free EMI, sir. Why will someone will give you interest-free for you, sir? Either it is raised in the product cost or it is part of processing fees. They don't call you interest, but that interest would be taken from another basket somewhere.
Okay, so the scenario where I am mentioning is in the education loan and education cost. Nowadays, there are a lot of all these online tutorials and all those things coming up. Say, for example, Byju's or Akash or any kind of things, education institutes, which they offer interest-free EMIs. They keep telling that, promoting their courses.
I can increase the product price, right? And then tell interest-free EMI.
Okay.
See, what I will do, if you are paying me 1 lakh rupees upfront, you pay upfront 1 lakh rupees. Otherwise, what I will do, I will put 10,000 or 9,000 rupees per month for 12 months. Somewhere 1,10,000 you will end up paying. They don't call you as interest. See, there is nothing called a free cost. They will charge you either in processing fee, they will charge you somewhere in hidden cost. Either the product cost itself is on a higher side when you go for a EMI.
Okay.
Right. So that would be there.
Thanks.
Yeah, great. Yeah.
So if there is no questions, one
I think
question
there's a
is there
question
in
in
the
the
chat
chat.
box. Any tips to wisely use the credit card?
Use the credit card. What I suggest is have only one card. Okay. Use it only when you require it, like some online educational payment where credit card is required, or booking tickets like that. Okay. But make sure that you follow and make the payment on time.
Within the due date, yeah.
Within the due date. You extend it and they will give you EMI. EMI will keep building. One point in time you will break. Okay. So if you wisely use it, it's a great product. But if you don't know, then it will be stuck. And don't use it for shopping when you go out for shopping, because what happens, impulsive purchases happens. If you have cash, only buy that. Otherwise, you might get stuck. Unnecessarily, you might end up spending. So be watchful. That's all. If you feel that whatever you are spending money is for your essentials, whether you pay by cash or card, it doesn't matter. But just because you have credit card, you might end up going and swiping for things which you really don't require. If you spend through cash, you will think. Only if you have, you will end up. So there is one nice way. Actually, what happens, you go to a shop and you might like something. So there is a Japanese concept. What they tell is, if you like that product, don't immediately buy. You just come back home. Next day, if you still feel that that is important, you go and buy it.
Mhm.
Okay. So because what happens so many times, which you look for the first time, it looks very attractive. You just buy it off. Okay. But if you come back home and then think, and you will think that next day it may not be that much essential for you. So any high-end purchases you are trying to do, you can have this as a check, go to first one day to the shop. If you like it, don't immediately get into, go and purchase. Just take a break, come back home, and next day you still see whether you want it. If you really want it, next day you will surely go and buy it. Okay, that is how you can know the difference between your needs and wants.
Mhm.
Sir, you were mentioning about the cash transaction, but in some other Western countries, what we have seen is you need to have a good amount of credit history that to be built up for taking the loan, for getting a better loan interest rate. Do we have any kind of such thing that will come up in India?
Yeah, it will. See, country will grow only when you spend money. If you save money, country will not grow. Okay.
Right.
So everyone around you wants you to spend the money, and credit card is a culture which makes you spend what you have, what you don't even have. Okay.
Mhm.
So you should not be bothered about credit history if you don't take loan. I am suggesting you never get into loan.
Yes.
Your credit score is used to give only loan to you.
Okay.
Okay. If
Okay.
if you plan well, you will never end up taking a loan.
No, but it could be like good loans, right? Home loan or education
Yeah,
loan. Or
home loan you will get it if you have income. See, if you have salary, you will get home loan. It is income, home, all your loan, be it call it, they let them call car loan, home loan, educational loan, whatever it is. All the loans are given against your salary.
No, that
If
is
you
correct. But will
yeah.
you get a better, good interest rate if you have a better credit history? Anything like that?
See, if you have a poor history, they will charge you. Okay. If you have defaulted your loan, if you have defaulted your EMI, so then obviously there will be a higher charge. If they don't have credit history, they will not be able to track you. So they cannot charge you higher cost. Okay, it will be based on your salary. But yeah, you pay your credit card on time. But just because to build a credit history you are taking loan, it doesn't make sense. Take loan only if you require and repay it properly. Okay, and I avoid taking loan as much as possible, including home loan.
Okay. Okay. And then one question more: investment in PPF as well as investment versus SIP. Which one will be better in the long term?
SIP in the long run, if you are looking into equity funds, will generally give you close to 12 to 15%. Short-term market might be volatile. You might see positive, negative return, all those things. But in the long run, you might get somewhere close to 12 to 15% based on the history what has happened. Okay. In PPF, you have today, I think around 7.4% something is the PPF interest. And PPF is not fixed. Every quarterly, the interest will change. It's a FD product. Only thing is that you get tax benefit. Okay. So the interest accumulated is not taxed. That's all. Okay. So in the long run, you would be better off having in an SIP. Okay. But if you are in PPF, you cannot touch your money. If there would be some people who puts an SIP after 1 year, they want to withdraw. If you are a person, who cannot control, and you try to take the money in a short period, then better to get into PPF, because at least you will not be able to pull out your money. Okay. But if purely from return perspective, mutual fund would be a better option in the long run. Okay. But you have to go through volatility. High lows will be there in the short.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
So if there are no questions, so we'll move on. So finally, let me thank once again Yeppan for accepting our invitation and into our platform to share his information or knowledge to us. The topic, the 5 tips for successful, the financial success. He has given detailed information. What are the 5 success ladders he has given? First one is financial security. He spoke about it, and he told what we earn, that is the based on our income, what we save and what we invest. So based on that, so our financial security comes into picture. And for that, so many things he spoke about. Insurances, we should have like life insurance, at least a term insurance we should take, which can at least 10 per the times of our the annual earning. That's what he mentioned. And even health insurance also he spoke about. And even property, like your home and car loans. So this all comes under the first the tips which he has given. And he told at the end of this, we have to reduce our financial uncertainty, so then only we can achieve the financial success. And for the second, the success ladder is spoke about the manage your debts. So we need to list what all the debts we have, whether it is good debt or bad debt. So he has given some examples also about good debt, the asset, whatever, so the value which increases. So it may be whether you are getting a tax benefit, it is a good debt. Education loan or business loan you are taking, so it's a good debt. And bad debt, the asset value which decreases, which is called as bad debt, he told. And even he told at least 10% of whatever the EMI you are paying, you invest in SIP, so that so it can earn better than the whatever the pre-closure that you are making it. So that is what he has quoted about the second the success ladder to achieve the financial success. And coming to the third ladder, he spoke about contingency fund, that is emergency fund. At least as per his knowledge, he told 3 to 6 months of our whatever the earning, we should have emergency fund. So if anything happens in between, if we lose a job or anything, at least we could able to manage all our debts within this 3 to 6 months until we get the next job. That is what he has mentioned. And coming to the fourth ladder, the focus on financial, the goals, a lot of goals he has set forth in front of us for children education, and whether we have to go for long term, how we have to plan, for a shorter term, how we have to plan, and for medium the term, how we have to plan, etc. And even for a children's marriage loan, whatever marriage, whatever we are planning, and holiday or home loan, whatever it is, and including shares, bonds, and property, gold, the alternative investments, and all, where it can fetch some percentage of the return. So all those things he has, and even he has given one formula also. Okay, A is equal to P of 1 plus R by 100 to the power T. So always we think of the return, we won't think of term or the time. That is what he has told. And he has suggested, so it's better to invest in SIPs, that is systematic investment plan. So invest regularly so that it can fetch more the income or return. That's what he quoted. And the last, the success ladder he has mentioned is financial freedom. So when we can say ourselves that I'm financially freedom, in the sense our the investment and the income should be greater than our expenses. In that is the state where we can call ourselves as financial freedom. And he has addressed most of our the questions also he has addressed. And I hope everyone got the benefit from of this webinar. Once again, I thank Ayyappan for giving a wonderful the information and session. And I thank all the participants also for participating this webinar. So once again, I thank one and all. So have a great day. Thank you.